In this video, we're going to be talking about NHL players who bet on themselves and lost. Starting with Cody Franzen. Cody Franzen was a third-round draft pick of the Nashville Predators in 2005 and wouldn't make his NHL debut until the 2009-2010 season, where in 61 games he put up 6 goals and 15 assists for 21 points. The following season, he would play 80 games and put up 29 points. 2 decent seasons for a young up-and-coming defenseman. And even after being traded to the Leafs in the summer of 2011, he would continue to put up decent numbers from the blue line, but could never land a long-term deal, as he kept getting a 1-year deal after 1-year deal, and every year he continued to be their highest-scoring defenseman. And in the middle of the 2015 season, he was offered a 3-year contract worth $4.5 million per season, the long-term deal that he had been looking for. However, the offer would not be accepted, as his agent told him that he'd do even better in free agency, but that would turn out to not be the case, as the best deal he got was a 2-year deal worth $3.325 million per season with the Buffalo Sabres. And with Buffalo, his production would fall off heavily, scoring just 36 points in 127 games between the 2 seasons. Afterwards, he landed a 1-year deal worth $1 million with the Chicago Blackhawks, but would only get in 23 games before being injured, which were the last NHL games of his career. After turning down the 3-year, $13.5 million deal, Franzen would make a total of $3.65 million throughout the next 3 seasons before being out of the league. And yes, while that absolutely is life-changing money, the $5.8 million he left on the table isn't exactly pocket change, but that pales in comparison to the money lost by other players on this list, such as Ryan Dzingel. Ryan Dzingel was the 204th overall pick in the 2011 draft, and wouldn't debut until the 2015-16 season, where he put up 9 points in 30 games. But the following season he would show more promise, putting up 14 goals and 18 assists in 81 games, and would continue to progress as he put up 23 goals and 18 assists in 79 games in the 2017-18 season, and was looking like he could be a key part of their team moving forward. And thinking that, the Ottawa Senators offered him a 5-year extension worth upwards of $20 million, a deal that he rejected, which led him to being traded and hitting the UFA market come the summer. And as a free agent, the best deal he got was a 2-year deal from the Carolina Hurricanes worth $6.75 million. And in those 2 years, he would only put up 16 goals and 26 assists in 104 games, and that fall-off led to his next contract being even lower, signing a 1-year, $1.1 million deal with the Arizona Coyotes, but would only play in 32 games of the 2022 season and would only get 8 points, and he hasn't played an NHL game since, though he did sign back with the Hurricanes on a 1-year $750,000 deal, but he spent the entirety of the 2023 season in the AHL, and as of recording, he does not have a contract for the 2024 NHL season. After declining the deal worth upwards of $20 million, Ryan Dzingel made a total of $8.6 million throughout 4 seasons. He lost out on at least $11.5 million, a situation that Mikkel Boedker can sadly relate to. He was the 8th overall pick in 2008 and had a pretty decent rookie season, putting up 28 points in 78 games. He split the next few years between the AHL and the NHL before establishing himself as a full-time NHL player, and his tenure with the Coyotes was pretty good. In 445 games, he put up 213 points, but despite the solid production, he couldn't seem to land a long-term deal. But in the middle of the 2015-16 season, he would be offered just that, a 5-year extension worth $5.5 million per season. But that offer would be rejected by Boedker's representation, causing the Coyotes to trade him at the deadline to the Colorado Avalanche. And in free agency, while he did land a long-term deal, it wasn't as lucrative as the offers the Coyotes made. Boedker signed with the San Jose Sharks on a deal that would pay him $4 million per season for 4 seasons. And throughout the length of that contract, he put up 102 points in 246 games, a rate that was pretty consistent with what he was putting up with the Coyotes. But sadly, that 4-year deal would be his last NHL contract. He would play 3 seasons in the Swiss League before officially announcing his retirement. And while he did make a lot of money in his career, turning down the extension offered by the Coyotes would cost him $11.5 million. But he still continued to be an effective NHL player, something I cannot say about Jared Cowen. The 9th overall pick in 2009, made his debut in the 2012 season where he put up 17 points in 82 games. But the following season he would struggle with injuries and only play 7 games. But the Ottawa Senators saw the potential in him, and that offseason, despite only having played 90 career NHL games, the Ottawa Senators would offer Cowan an 8-year contract extension worth $28 million. The offer was declined as Cowan, who was only 22 years old at the time, felt that his value would continue to go up. So instead, he signed a 4-year deal worth $12.4 million, with hopes that by the end of that deal, he'd be entering the prime of his career and be worth a lot more than $3.5 million per season. In the first season with this new deal, he put up 15 points in 68 games, similar stats to his rookie season. Given that he basically hadn't played for a season, him not having a really good season is somewhat justifiable, but the following season he would put up only 9 points in 54 games, and the downward trajectory would continue as in the 2016 season he only played 37 games and put up 4 points. He couldn't stay healthy and wasn't playing well when he was, to the point where he was consistently a healthy scratch. And in the middle of the 2016 season, he would be traded to the Toronto Maple Leafs as part of the trade that brought Dion Phaneuf to Ottawa. And that offseason, the Toronto Maple Leafs bought out the last year of his deal, and after a failed PTO with the Avs, he would retire. Cowan turned down $28 million, and as a result, factoring in the buyout, made about $10.8 million in 5 seasons before being out of the league, forfeiting $17.2 million. Definitely the most of any player we've talked about in this video, but the potential loss that John Klingberg could face is much worse. He was drafted in 2010 in the 5th round and wouldn't debut until the 2015 season, but when he did, he showed the potential of being a top-tier defenseman in the league, putting up 11 goals, 29 assists for 40 points in 65 games. That rookie season would land him a 7-year deal worth a little under $30 million. He would continue to have many great seasons and would be a key part of their finals run in 2020. During the 2022 season, the last year of his contract, he would be offered an 8-year extension worth $56 million. But at the advice of his agent, the offer was rejected as they were looking for an AAV above $8 million per season. But during free agency, that offer never came, causing Klingberg to fire his agent and sign a 1-year $7 million deal with the Ducks, in hopes of showing off his value and trying again next offseason. But in 2023, he would have one of the worst seasons of his career, and during this offseason, he would sign another 1-year deal, this time worth a little over $4 million. John Klingberg turned down the opportunity to make $56 million, and with him being 31 by the time the season starts, he is most likely not going to land a 6 or 7 year deal, and especially nowhere near $7 million per season, as we see that his value is already beginning to fall. And that's going to do it for this video. Thank you very much for watching. If you enjoyed it, leave the video a like and consider subscribing to the channel. And once again, thank you for watching.